Well, this is one of those things we haven't done in a while, and it's important to recognize that if you're looking for the graph, well, it says the graph of this equation is shown below. How does that graph compare to this other graph? Let's do a little review first of all here. This is here because of the point HK, -3, -2. If you go back 3 and down 2, that's going to give you that point. That's the vertex. So it's shifting that vertex in different directions is how we're going to be able to recognize this type of a problem. So if you notice this equation here, the only difference you have is this coefficient out in front. And technically, that's just how steep these lines go. Okay? So this one here, technically, there's a 1 out in front. So if you look, we went up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. Or even up 1, back 1. So there's two slopes with an absolute value function. One's positive and one's negative. This looks positive because it's going up, but it's really down 1 and over 1. The only difference here, the vertex is going to be the same because of the h and the k value applies. It's the same to both of that. Change the sign and keep the sign. The difference is the slope of each of those two lines is 1/2. So this is going to go up 1 over 2, up 1 and over 2. Same thing as you go back. So location's the same. It's just wider than the other. Okay, it hasn't been shifted to the right or up or down or left or whatever. Which polynomial represents this? Well, every time I say use the box, I get people rolling their eyes and oh, the box, oh, I hate the box. Box is just a neat way to organize the stuff you've got. So I would say don't worry about complaining. If you don't want to do the box, then just foil it. But I'll tell you, foiling you can run into trouble here. So I'm just labeling each of this the two parts of this side here as negative y and 3 because that's what we have in here, and then up top I got a negative 4y squared plus 2y and plus 2, and I'm going to divide this into sections. So a negative times a negative, that's going to be a 4y to the third power, and that doesn't narrow it down. All of them have that. This is going to be a negative 2y squared, and this is going to be a negative 2y. We look across the top here, that's a negative 12y squared. That's going to be a positive 6y, and then it's going to be a positive 6. This guy here and this guy here don't have any like terms. So the first term is definitely that. The last term is definitely 6. So we can already start eliminating things as we look at some of our answers. Okay, the question then becomes, what do you do with these guys? Well, they're two negative numbers. It's going to give me a negative 14y squared. If I've already narrowed down this one, then this is really the only answer possible, but I'll just, for the sake of argument, I'll keep going. 6y minus 2y, it's a positive 4y. We have the plus 6 with no like terms. We have the 4y cubed, which is no like terms, and that's why that matches answer D. Remember, you guys, and you don't even have to really remember because I'm labeling R here and I here. The imaginary axis is the up and down. The real axis is the back and forth. The worst thing that I see people do in this situation here is that you multiply because you see the parentheses. This says whatever you got here, take away whatever you got here. The only way of doing that and being accurate, well, I don't want to say it's the only way. The best way that I've seen is to change that to a plus and distribute the negative so you see immediately in front of that it's actually now become a negative. And this guy here has now actually become a positive, because what was a negative here should change the sign of everything here. So now when you look at individual like terms, I got a 5 and a negative 1. Well, that's easy. That's a 4. I got a 3i and a positive 1i. Well, that happens to also be a 4, but it's a 4i. So the location that we're looking at is going to be 4 on the real axis and 1, 2, 3, 4 on the imaginary axis. That is point C. Again, we're going to go with the consistency on the page. I want to add these fractions together. However, I need to have a common denominator first, and this doesn't look like that. However, if I factor it, I've got an x plus 3 and an x minus 3. Now, if I say that's my new denominator, it looks a little bit more like that than this did. At least this has an x plus 3 that matches. So what's missing is an x minus 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include an x minus 3 in the denominator. But if I just do that, I've changed the value and the value of this problem, and it's not going to work. I have to do that to the top and the bottom of this fraction, because essentially I just multiplied by 1 there. So this fraction's the same as it was before because we multiplied it by 1, but it changes its form when I acknowledge that this is a common denominator now. So all we have left now that they have a common denominator of x plus 3 and x minus 3. Now all we need to do is combine the tops. And this here is unfinished business. This is a 2 that needs to be distributed. It's a 2x minus 6. But don't forget, you have the plus and then a 5x. So this 5x has just been sitting here waiting for them to get ready. Now it's a combined like terms thing. 2x and 5x is 7x minus 6. 7x minus 6, answer D. So which of these graphs is equal to this? We brushed on this a moment ago. Remember, your h and k value is -2, -3. So your vertex of this parabola, and we know it's a parabola because of the square, is -2, -3. However, that -1 out in front means this thing is upside down. So it's not that one, and it's not that one because it's upside down. So it's one of these two. Keep in mind the -2, -3 means we've gone to the left 2 first and then down 1, 2, 3. There's your vertex. There's your upside downness. There's your answer. This one here, people are going to do it. They're going to look at that +2 and that -3 and think, oh yeah, that's just 2, -3. The key thing to this problem is recognizing that that number is positive because, that number should be negative because that number is positive. The equation in question is x minus h squared plus k. It's a minus h, meaning if that's the way the equation sort of settles in, h is -2, x minus a -2 gives you that x plus 2. So we always change the sign inside but keep the sign outside. The answer is C.